Weekend shootings, of course, caught the attention of state lawmakers. Our State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson has more on their reaction.
Wisconsin's legislators are out of session through the end of the year, but some Democrats are already looking ahead, hoping with the state's new maps and November's election, more gun control legislation could be passed.
I remember hearing the breaking news through my news break, and I said, "Are you kidding me? A mass shooting in Madison, like right now?"
Democrat Sheila Stubbs is a member of the Assembly's Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee.
But I'm hoping next session that we can do something.
Last session, Stubbs says she authored numerous bills on gun control and violence prevention. None of them passed.
I will reintroduce these bills. I will continue to reintroduce these bills until something is done.
Democratic State Senator Melissa Agard of Madison says Democrats have their eyes on next session.
This legislative electoral session has an opportunity to bring real change into how policies are being made.
Democrats hope to create red flag legislation where the court can temporarily take away firearms from someone who may harm themselves or others. But they don't want to stop there.
Ensuring that there are background checks on all gun sales and gun transfers, as well as reinstating waiting periods.
With the current Republican-led legislature, those three policies are unlikely to pass. But Agard says change could be coming.
We in Wisconsin are at the precipice of actually being able to have more pragmatic policymaking happen in the Capitol building with more fair maps that have been signed by Governor Evers.
I am begging any of my Republican colleagues to come to my office, meet with me. Let's draft some bipartisan legislation.
I reached out to every Republican on the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee in the State Senate and every Republican in the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee in the Assembly. None were available for comment today. From the Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.